Hey, whether you think Aaron Rodgers is a diva or not, there's still a question to be asked. Are we buying or selling the wide receivers in Green Bay? What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake, Fantasy Headliners. Hopefully everybody's doing well out there today. Talking about the Green Bay Packers today, Aaron Rodgers and his wide receivers. Are we buying or selling them? There's been a lot of articles coming out lately, a lot of, bad things coming about Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't trust his wide receivers. He's hard to get along with. He's hard to play with. He's bashing Mike McCarthy. Now, finally, Aaron Rodgers is starting to rebut a few of these things and come back and say, listen, this is a smear tactic put on by some ex-teammates that every time something negative happens in Green Bay, it's the same two names that always seem to pop up in media articles trying to knock Rodgers down. It's Greg Jennings, it's Jermichael Finley, and it's consistent. They've done it over the years. But don't get me wrong, Aaron Rodgers is a little bit difficult. He's a little different than a lot of the other NFL quarterbacks. He's a little bit more introverted. He's very maniacal. His thought process through the game is borderline second to none in the NFL. He does put a lot of strain on these young wide receivers. He has a whole repertoire of hand signals, and they change from a weekly basis. And these wide receivers need to learn these hand signals to really not only run the right routes, but gain the trust of Aaron Rodgers. This is something he's been doing for a long time. He'll actually pull up teammates in team meetings and practices and quiz them on hand signals. If they don't pass the quizzes, good luck getting targets on Sunday, because he's going to be pissed that you don't know. And then if you do make a mistake and he points it out to you, even if it's not directed solely towards you, if you hear him talking to another teammate, he assumes that's a learning lesson for you also. Don't make the same mistakes that others are doing. He's really trying to take this wide receiver group to another level. And not everybody can just hop into the league right at the beginning of their career, learn this complicated offense, and then just assume, huge production right off the bat. He really does need to gain their trust. Is it right or wrong? I think it may handcuff him at times by not opening up the amount of options that he possibly could have, but he's done it like this for a long time, and he's been one of the most productive and successful quarterbacks, in NFL history. He's somebody who definitely has learned the spot and has learned how to play the position really, really well. All right, but what happened in 2018, right? That's the big question mark. That's what raised all the red flags to begin with. That's what got Mike McCarthy out of town. And it's obvious there was some tension there in the clubhouse. But we knew going into the season that Davante Adams was going to be the clear-cut wide receiver one in the Green Bay offense. He was going to see a butt-ton of targets every single week. We knew he had the trust already of Aaron Rodgers, and that was clear-cut. That was no surprise there. But what happened after Davante Adams? First up, it's going to be Randall Cobb. And before you light me up in the comment section, I know he doesn't play there anymore. But he played there for the last 8 seasons. The problem was he really had a hard time staying healthy. Last season, he only appeared in 9 games, averaged 7 targets per game. And we could tell that if he were to stay around a lot longer, if he could stay there without getting hurt, he was going to see enough volume to be, a very productive wide receiver in the Green Bay offense. After that, we had Geronimo Allison. He's 25 years old. He's only been in the league 3 years, all with Aaron Rodgers, yes, of course. But he's somebody else struggling with injuries. He had 30 targets through 5 games. That was a pace that, by the end of the season would have made him the clear-cut wide receiver 2 in this offense. The problem is health. However, it looked like in the small sample size, he'd started to gain that trust of Aaron Rodgers. If he could come into the season this year and stay healthy, this could be a very productive wide receiver in this offense that could be a steal on draft day. All right, well, after Allison, though, it was just a bunch of young guys, right? You had Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Equanimeous St. Brown, 2 of the funnest names to say in the NFL, by the way, and then Jake Kumerow. Well, let's start off with MVS, because he started to be somewhat productive there in the beginning of the season once Geronimo Allison went out. But it didn't really last long. Weeks 10 through 14, he only had more than 3 targets once in a game. And was he really only producing at that immediate time when Allison went out because there was really no other options at that time? It's entirely possible. It's obvious he didn't build the trust throughout the season because the target numbers started to go down. Equanimeous St. Brown, another young kid in his first year, only 22 years old, averaged 3 targets per game and never had more than 5 in a game. His best game of the season was the last game of the season. He's somebody who we need to pay attention to here in the offseason. He could be building momentum, and there's going to be a need for playmakers here in this offense. If I had to put one right above the other as of right now, I would say that Equanimeous St. Brown going into the season may have the slight edge on Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Both are similar type wide receivers, big wide receivers, able to go up and get the 50-50 ball. They could be big parts of this offense if they can start to gain the trust of Aaron Rodgers. Jake Kumerow, another first-year guy there in Green Bay. Took him a long time to get to the NFL. He's 27 years old, but has only had 11 career targets. 11. I mean, we're talking about a bunch of young kids here, and it was really most of the reason why Aaron Rodgers struggled in 2018. The whole reason for the struggled air quotes is because it really wasn't as bad as it really sounds. With all of that being said, with all of those new wide receivers, with all of those injuries, he still threw for more yards last year than he had since 2011. This past season, threw for 4,442 yards. Now, yes, I'm sure Davante Adams, accounted for almost half of that himself. However, it's a high-powered offense. It's going to have the volume. They need the playmakers. We already talked about it. Randall Cobb, he's out of town. He's not there. Does Geronimo Allison stay healthy, move into that number 2 spot? Possibly. Who goes into the slot? Is it Jake Kumerow? Could it be Jake Kumerow's season in Green Bay? It's entirely possible. Right now, obviously, Davante Adams is somebody who will be a first, second-round pick in your fantasy football drafts. After that, Geronimo Allison will be a mid to late round pick that could have some huge value. Outside of that, unless you're in a super deep league, I'm really not anxious to own any of the other 3. We need to see how off-season workouts go, how OTAs go, mini camps. Let's see what kind of connection these guys are building together before we just make the assumption. If I had to choose one right now, like I said, I think Equanimeous St. Brown has a chance. Not really a slot guy. What do you kind of do there? Jake Kumerow could have some sneaky value absolutely this season. Now, obviously, there's a coaching change there, right? We talked about how Mike McCarthy no longer in town. Matt LaFleur comes over, and a lot of people are like, well, great. The Tennessee Titans sucked last year. Now the Green Bay Packers are going to suck. Not so quick. He wasn't really given a whole lot of pieces to play with there in Tennessee. Marcus Mariota being his quarterback couldn't stay healthy. Corey Davis was maybe their one lone weapon on the outside. Delaney Walker went down with injury. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot. Kind of the reason they really went heavy run second half of the year. But now, Matt LaFleur really gets an opportunity with an all-pro, an MVP caliber quarterback to put up some big numbers. And this guy has been used to it, right? He's led the offenses for Sean McVay. He's been a part of an offense with Kyle Shanahan in the past in Atlanta. A lot of people don't realize that Matt LaFleur was one of the main pieces in Atlanta that really helped Matt Ryan become an MVP in 2016. He's had an opportunity. He's had a hand in some high-powered offenses in the past. He's going to get his opportunity again. And as long as he kind of lets Aaron Rodgers do what Aaron Rodgers does, the Green Bay Packers are going to be a very much improved offense this season. I have no issues with Aaron Rodgers. These reports now in April, really not too concerned of what's going to happen later on. Davante Adams still a surefire wide receiver 1 here, fantasy football-wise. A lot of this is being blown out of proportion, I think, and if anything, this could light a fire in Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, and they could come out on an absolute tear here in 2019. It's going to be fun to watch here in the offseason. Pay attention to it. Let's see what really happens. Let's see what other articles or news comes out. Let's really pay attention to the draft and to OTAs, because this team has enough weapons to be very, very productive from a fantasy football perspective. Let's just see if they can put all these pieces back together again. I'm looking forward to it. It could be exciting with a Matt LaFleur offense and these weapons. But I want to know what you think. Hit me up down in the comment section. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is just pure diva and you really want nothing to do with him? Do you really think that he doesn't like his teammates or his young wide receivers? Or is he just making them learn the ropes before he just unleashes fury on them with targets. I want to know down below in the comment section. Tell me what you think. Are you buying or are you selling the wide receivers of the Green Bay Packers here in 2019? Before I get out of here, make sure you head over to our website, TheFantasyHeadliners.com. Our draft kit is available there for pre-order. Only $19.99. An absolute ton of information to be available there here coming up pretty soon. Looking forward to that also. Really appreciate the support. If you're brand new here, please hit the like and subscribe button. Let me know down below that you're new to Headliner Nation. I would love to welcome you individually. Any other questions or comments you have, throw them down there. You're going to get a response from me. Really appreciate you once again. Have a great rest of your week. We'll talk to you later.